You are listening to High School 510, where sports is the plane, comedy is the pilot, and the sweet Jeeba is our jet fuel. Please sit back and enjoy the ride.
No, but the play isn't about slavery though. The play is about Hamilton, and the slaves played as big a role as they did back then, right? They were just sort of in the background, right? They weren't necessarily.
And I want to see somebody in chains when I watch it, Brandon.
In your day-to-day conversation.
I want to see a black guy in the back in chains. If that's the case, I want it to be authentic and happy. That would make me happy. If they had a black guy in a chain, a ball and chain on his knees in the background.
No, that's not good enough because it's a role reversal. They need to have a white person in chains being mistreated in the background, being like, "Get my shit." They was like, Lin-Manuel Miranda, you want to really make it woke? And Lin-Manuel Miranda answered the phone like,
"It's that boy Chatter now."
He's like, "Nah, nigga."
Perfect casting. We get my boy Chet Hanks, and have him playing a slave in the background. Right?
The group of directors and producers who I was going to do my Domino show with,
yeah,
they just went viral, and so now like wanting to do it's kind of like if I made up the podcast and then like y'all went viral, and then I was like, hey, wait a minute, I'm still trying to do the podcast with y'all. They're like, look, nigga, like we about to get an Emmy for this shit. Chill out, bro. Like we're not working on a goddamn Domino show anymore.
What are they going viral for?
They did that David video.
Oh, the one where he's talking about 4th of July?
Yeah, and like apparently like they want to nominate them for a commercial Emmy and all this other shit. And it's like, well, there's the Domino show. Good luck, nigga. I knew how those dudes were. They've been waiting. It's just kind of like me too, you know. Like I can't predict what would happen if I got close to some big accolades like that.
Yeah.
I know me. I'm trying to put my people on, but some people ain't trying to be about that. So.
Oh, Brandon, look at clean cut. You listen to Jason. Listen to Jason, got his cosmetics on, looking fresher than fresh today.
Man, that nigga used cocoa butter. He looked this nigga shining. God,
you got that sheen on, nigga.
This nigga shimmer. He said, can I get the shine finish, please? Not the matte, the shine.
You obviously fired Forrest Whitaker's makeup artist.
No, my daughter has this dress made all glitter, man. So if you see some glitter on my face, that's why.
Yeah, I see one right by your
close with hers.
You got that Lady Gaga glitter right by your right eyelid right there. I see you.
Brandon's like a bouncer for the Trolls tour.
Brandon look like one of like the biggest nigga elf in that movie Legend with Tom Cruise. They're trying to find the last unicorn and shit. Well, Aaron over here answering like he just got done with the run. He's leaving the gym right now with his headphones on top of on his temples.
It looked like you got that tiny listed mohawk though.
Zeus, that was a good one.
My grandma gave you that check, huh? I want to see a boxing match between Zeus, Tiny Lister, and Terry Crews, both like the villains in the Friday movie. That'd be a hell of a time.
Well, the only problem is Zeus is like 70 years old now. He's like, bro, old.
Yeah, he's like old. I saw Zeus and Chris Rock do this skit in church.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
And he was like shaking. He was like,
give me my chain, fool.
Give me my money, Paul. Like, damn, this nigga's old.
He was walking like OJ. Like, yeah, I've seen some years in the league.
He shook his ankle out before he took a step with them niggas. Make sure that shit pop first.
He was walking kind of stiff like your boy Delroy Lindo.
Man, that's how I'm walking right now. My back's stiff as hell right now.
Oh shit! One back to the other.
I want to say something real quick while we're recording. You niggas is useless. If I was actually dead, not one person checked on me.
Oh yeah, I forgot you wasn't feeling good when you got off.
Bro, somebody, I think it was Brandon, or no, we were laughing about something, and I was listening to the podcast. You know, it's even funny. The funniest shit about it was I made fun of Pedro and said he looked like a type of nigga who would blow his back out.
Oh, yeah, he take a shit and blow his back out.
Eating that sandwich like type of nigga that take a shit and blow your back out.
An hour later.
An hour later, I laughed at somebody's joke. I said, ooh, and I couldn't get up. It was over.
Oh, no.
It was swollen. My lower back, like, was actually swollen. Like, there was a piece swollen, like back meat. It was actually swollen.
Hey, man, so last week we could say you did yourself, since, you know, I like to call you the King Pork. Last week you were effectively pulled pork. Is that what you were last week? Yo, back out of me, gave you some pulled pork. Get some of that pulled pork.
I was laid out for a few hours. I would like to call that porking lot pimping. 30 seconds at Jason. 30 seconds at Jason. My newest favorite segment, by the way.
That's hit programming.
Still can't believe he was trying to convince us he wasn't drunk. So I'm just
what was that?
Sticking to that
because he wasn't normal for sure.
Aaron, for real, what was that? Like, is he not drunk? Does he have like a speech impediment? Like, are we making fun of a nigga? Like, what are we doing?
Come on.
I just want to make sure, like, I'm not being unethical here. Like, are we okay? Like,
Dude, I thought he was drunk. I'm gonna go with the drunk.
I hope he was drunk, because if not, we're bullies.
Man, he's just having a fucking seizure for 3 hours.
He's having a 3-hour stroke. We're like so unsupportive.
I got a question. Are the numbers going up because Brandon found a barber to cut his hair during this time?
I mean, I cut my hair.
we were just talking about that before you got on, Aaron.
Oh, Brandon, you did that? You did that shit? God damn, Brandon.
Third iteration of this, man. I've been cutting my hair all weekend.
The same, working on the same.
Just like taking my time.
Yeah. He did an outline on Friday. He did a rough draft Saturday, and then this morning he was like, my final cut.
Dude, I remember I hurt my back, and Jared shows up at my house. Man, we still going out though, right? I was like, dude, I can't even walk. Jared's like, well, let's just walk across the street.
We heard about the him at Pal. So obviously, Jared is not the person you want around for a back injury.
I'm just here to test you out, make sure that you know you're not overreacting. That's all. You know,
Jared, you didn't even call me back, nigga.
I'm the only one that did call you back, Negro.
On Tuesday.
Yeah, you know, I will give you some space. You know, I know not. I also just forgot.
I couldn't even take a shit until like Tuesday. I couldn't sit on the toilet.
All right, well, let's start the show. Who gave me a letter last week? It was Aaron. So, Brandon, I need a letter.
I'm going to say I.
Infantile, impotent iguanas.
Aaron, are you transferring Chobani's big jar into
he does that. He does that.
That's because this one has a little bit of pomegranate in it, and so I mixed a little strawberry pomegranate.
You got portion control, man.
Yeah. Idris Elba. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. You are listening to the High Score 510 podcast. You can catch us on at High Score 510 on the Instagram, the Twitter, and the YouTube. You can also email the show at highscore510.fans@gmail.com. Be sure to tap in with us, share us to your friends, and our music is by Taj Easton. You can find his information at tajeaston.com if you want more music for any services. Aside from that, we are here with...
This is Aaron Grayson, also known as AG3. Coming at you faster than a LA gangbanger looking at Airbnb.
Why don't you click your heels together 3 times and go back to Africa?
And we are here with...
This is Brandon, a.k.a. Taco Pablo. I'm surprised Aaron made it to the show today after 4th of July, man.
Don't even discuss that. I was drinking coffee just about 20 minutes ago.
Might as well have some of this booty sweat I got back in the name.
Wow.
We are here with...
What's up, y'all? This is Adarius, a.k.a. King smoking out with your mama, or lighting fireworks with her, because that's what everybody's doing over the last 24 hours. I wonder how many hands was lost. I wonder how many feet were lost.
Not enough. Not enough.
Not enough before here.
After yesterday, I want to see everybody. I want to see at least 60 people in my neighborhood with hooks.
Folks. Aaron officially has PTSD. He thought he was in Fallujah. He is not. He sounds really distraught.
Mr. Cosby's doing great, and Mr. Cosby knows that God is watching over him. He knows that these are lies. They persecuted Jesus, and look what happened.
Wow, that's my soundbite.
And my name is Jarrett, aka DJartt, with 2 T's for a double set. Tink Tink. The Quarantink is out now, and the D is silent, so it's just Jartt.
Shanghai, Hong Kong, egg foo young. Fortune cookie always wrong. That's a hot one.
Oh, yeah.
Sound like you played some racist shit for yourself.
Right. Yeah, I would like to note that Jarrett played that for himself.
Jarrett, who is half Chinese, half black, have played the Chinese racist stuff.
That was wild. That was the original music for PF Chang.
Where was that from, Jarrett?
That was from the Aristocats from Disney Channel when they re-released all their. It came out with Disney Plus, and so
is that still on there?
I think it is. Yeah, I think they got a lot of things.
Good. They shouldn't take it off.
They keep it up there. Keep it up there. Speaking of which.
Look around at how lucky we are to be alive right now. Look around.
I'm glad, because I was just reading about this shit and thinking about it, Jarrett. I'm glad.
In news this week, it was the 4th of July this past week. I know, Aaron, you probably had a great time last night. And I was up in the mountains trying to avoid all the chaos and the sounds of the night. But because it was the 4th of July weekend, Disney Plus released the live action digital version of Hamilton, starring Darius' good friend, one Mr. David Diggs, and one of DJartt's favorite artists and writers of all time, or performers of all time, one Mr. Lin-Manuel Miranda. Did y'all watch it yet?
No, man, I'm having problems watching it. I told you, man, Hamilton is that Obama-era white guilt, feel-good type of show. That's exactly what it is. It's the Obama era. If you're a white liberal progressive person, you feel good about watching a reenactment of whiteface by a bunch of colored people.
Absolutely. It's the PG version. It's the 2012 or 2013 PG version of what we're going through now.
Like, if they was only rapping back in the day, things would be more equitable now.
See, and that's the crazy thing, because it came out around the same time that Tupac Broadway show came out that flopped. So everyone's like, a real person that was a revolutionary, not like this fake ass Hamilton. Let's face it.
I don't know if Tupac was revolutionary, but that's a whole different conversation.
I mean, okay, maybe not a revolutionary, but a real political figure. I mean, Alexander Hamilton is a real political figure, don't get me wrong, but he was also very selfish. Everything was about his personal gain. He married. You watched it, Jarrett, so tell me this. Does the play talk about the Schuler sisters' slaves? You know, their dad was the biggest slave owner in New York, in the North. In the North. Did it talk about that?
No, it didn't talk about that.
And as I heard, he also helped manage the sales of slaves.
They all did.
Oh, no, Brandon. I ain't got a problem. Look, I ain't one of those people that's like start tearing down Thomas Jefferson, change the name of schools. You can take down like the Confederate people. I'm fine with that because they own slaves. My own thing is that this play Hamilton is basically glorizing this dude Hamilton. And like I said, it's a way of easing white guilt because they had all these people of color playing in it. If it was all, this is what I asked somebody. I asked somebody this recently. If Hamilton had an all-white cast, right, how would you felt about it? Same play, just all-white cast.
It'd be called Logic.
Logic. He got Logic.
No, not the Jarrett type of white cast. I'm talking about a real white cast.
Meghan Markle would have played Eliza. Can she sing?
Yeah, because Jarrett would have had Logic, Meghan Markle, and would have been like that.
Machine Gun Kelly.
Machine Gun Kelly.
It would have been like Maya Rudolph.
Maya Rudolph.
Andy Samberg.
Jenny Slate. You know, he would have had some.
I would have had Sean King playing Alexander Hamilton.
Oh, my dude, Snow J. Simpson.
Clay Thompson.
Talcum
X, Snow J. Simpson.
He would have had Clay Thompson and one of OJ kids in it and been like, man, this all white cast. I'm talking about a true all white cast. But would some white people who saw Hamilton guilt free feel the same? And I've been struggling. I want to watch it, but I'm struggling. I keep reading things. I'm reading articles of Washington Post.
Yeah, don't read the articles, man. Just watch it and see what you think about it. I thought it was a good show, man. I think all the problems with it's not a documentary. It's not like they were going back and say, hey, man, this is your history lesson for this week.
Hey, but Brandon now. We just had Kristen Dunst, Jenny Slate. All these people say, oh, I'm not going to play these roles of half black, half white characters on cartoons. I'm gonna save it for black people. How about Hamilton? I'm in a role reversal.
But Aaron, I will say this. I highly hear you, but I will say this. I think part of it was because that form of portraying black lives had happened for so long that this was like absurdist, but done in a very elegant way because they told a true story. You have to think of it like it wasn't so much, but it was supposed to be like absurdity. It was supposed to be absurdity, but white people took it as like a great flip on the idea, but it was really supposed to feel really, really, really uncomfortable. That was the original intention, for it to be really uncomfortable.
Well, Lin-Manuel Miranda knows how to make white people not feel uncomfortable because I ain't never seen so much offbeat head bobbing and snapping going on in a theater in my life.
No, because he did it in the Heights like 15 years ago, bro. That play was out.
Well, they turned it into a movie. They're turning it into a movie that's coming out. Yeah. So it's coming out.
That play was on Broadway like 15 years ago, and they like went through Broadway, authentic Dominican and Puerto Rican voices, and it was dope. And I think what they tried to do is they just wanted to do authentic white voices played by black characters who are obviously black.
It made them feel less guilty because they're like, these black people are doing what our white ancestors did inappropriately. It feels better now.
Look, and I'm going to be honest. Look, I have no problem with like having like, let's say you want to do an Asian version of like Cinderella or a black version of, look, I went to go see Cat on the Hot Tin Roof with the all-black cast on Broadway. It was Felicia Rashad, James Earl Jones, what's that crazy-ass dude, Terrence Howard, Anika Rose, and it was great. It was unbelievable. I have no problem with like taking like these stories and making an all-black cast, but I felt like that show was actually catered for black people to see the version, even though it was the same exact words that were originally written.
Absolutely. This Hamilton, is definitely for white people.
Yeah, Hamilton, I felt like he made a show and it made it so you could feel good. If you're gonna have an all-black cast, let's talk about some slaves then.
No, but the play isn't about slavery though. The play is about Hamilton, and the slaves played as big a role as they did back then, right? They were just sort of in the background, right? They weren't necessarily.
And I want to see somebody in chains when I watch it, Brandon. I feel like maybe it's a little irrelevant now after things have gone through in the last months in our nation. It's not irrelevant, but its meaning takes a little back seat now.
Oh, I think it's perfect timing. It's going to create unity. It's going to bring white people back down. It can bring escalated white people back down to earth. It's going to make black people, feel like, oh man, Disney Plus representing us unless you really woke, And then it's going to create this idea of like, oh yeah, there's so much good out there. We got Hamilton, Let's not waste our time, It is what it is. It's kind of like this song.
Raise a glass to freedom, something they can never take away, no matter what they tell you.
Disney got more lawyers than an apartment in East Harlem got roaches. And you over here gonna sit
Apple
here.
and Disney work together. This shit gonna get shut down quick.
And then we got to deal with Jared complaining about it for the next 3 years.
Man, fuck Spotify and
Apple Plus and
everybody.
Can't let a nigga live. God damn it.
No, well, the two things I'll say, like, number one is I don't want one piece of art to represent a whole conversation about anything, right? And it's just a play, right? It's just one play in a series of a bunch of plays. And the second thing is, like, you got to respect Lin-Manuel Miranda or whatever, however you say his name, because he gave hundreds of black actors a job for the last 4 or 5 years, right? In San Francisco, LA, New York, all the plays they did, people of color have had an opportunity, number one, to go to the play because they made it a priority.
No, nigga. No.
And number two,
no, you was good until you said gave access to black people of color to see the goddamn thing.
No, Brandon,
tell me how he didn't.
Follow the money. Follow the money.
The reason why it was all white people.
They gonna cancel you, Brandon. You better watch out, cancel Brandon. Hashtag don't cancel you. Watch out.
I will explain to me how he didn't.
Brandon, black people did not see that play for a long ass fucking time.
Hold on. I'm gonna defend Brandon a little bit. I'm not gonna throw myself out there, but at the very beginning, it was very much a black show. The celebrities and the president is what blew that. That shit wasn't sold out at first. It wasn't like the most popular demand show. A couple of rich black people, not rich white people,
the black bourgeoisie.
The black boule.
The black boule.
But at first it was not. It was pretty open. It was like come through. So Brandon is right.
No, what I'm saying is they all like a set of tickets that were low price for people that could come in and see the show. You weren't in the front.
What low price? There was no low price. Brandon, I tried to go see that shit. There was no low price.
No, but that's not for you. They set aside amount of.
We know it wasn't for us.
A couple of the actors got to pick a school or somebody they want to give those tickets to at a lower price.
That sounds like normal. That sounds like normal charity that goes on, and we see where that got us in this country.
Yeah.
Just because they gave a ticket for a Wednesday daytime show, I ain't gonna sit there and kiss their ass.
Hold on.
That's better than Paul Newman.
I've been trying to see the Nutcracker my whole entire motherfucking life. Ain't nobody giving me not one motherfucking option.
Wait, come on, man. Now,
they got about 18,000 different versions of the Nutcracker. You go see it times.
Every school goes to Nutcracker almost for
Nutcracker.
I got a
VHS
in 6th grade in the Nutcracker.
Exactly.
I think I seen the Nutcracker about 3 or 4 times for free while in school.
The San Francisco operatic one, man, not the one that Jared puts on the fucking boot camp tennis court. I'm talking about the real shit, man.
All I'm saying is Lin-Manuel Miranda sponsorship. Come holler at me for some real revolutionary, real thoughtful, real game-changing theater. I got ideas, baby. You seen Dance Extravaganza? Holla at your boy. Sponsorship. Hey, but this would have felt like trying to get tickets as a black person or person of color or somebody who's lower socioeconomic status to get in there. The Schuyler sisters explain it really well. Yeah.
I will say, though, if people have money for the limited release Jordans, they could have paid for the hour to go to Hamilton show. Like, it was just expensive. It wasn't out of reach for people.
It was really
like out of reach. They put the tickets on the internet. Anybody who could.
You know what made it out of reach? But Brandon, you know what made it out of reach? See, you're not being realistic, man. We all know what happened when tickets hit the internet, right? First thing happened. The first problem that happened was the scalpers got a hold to it, and then the tickets that were normally, like you said, it wasn't out of reach. They became out of reach for someone like me who could buy. It was ridiculous. It was like the scalpers got a hold to it, and it became ridiculous, and everything was on StubHub and shit like that for a ridiculous amount.
They should have had a Blackout Tuesday for black people.
Yeah, but another example of that is when the National African American History Museum first opened. You couldn't get a ticket for that shit for the first 2 years.
No, but they at least raised the price. It wasn't inflated.
It wasn't about the price though. It was very exclusive because they only had limited spots available. Like that's how things that in demand.
But
happened,
this
right?
wasn't. This wasn't the case.
That everybody could have it at the same time, and that's how it made it accessible because everybody.
This shit was
everybody
not.
Could make $8.
I'm gonna tell you this.
This shit was not accessible, Brandon.
A lot of it, I've seen it a couple times because my mom has had the time as a retired woman to enter the lotteries. They started doing lottery system stuff, and this is after it had blown up, obviously. But yeah, it wasn't an easy thing to go see. It was definitely a challenge. So I guess this is their form of reparations for black people. Is now black people sign up for Disney Plus, and now you can go see the play about white people being told by our own people. And
let me tell you this, Brandon. You're skipping over the two main important facts, right? One of them is this: that obviously Jared loves this fucking play because he keeps playing the whole songs and has it on his computer. So obviously,
he had this whole conversation queued up, guys. By the way,
yeah, obviously,
he has all the sound box, everything is queued up and ready to go. He has rebuttals. So
I am not throwing away my shot. I am not throwing away my shot. Hey, yo, I'm just like my country. I'm young, scrappy, and hungry, and I'm not throwing away my shot. I'ma get a scholarship to King.
Yeah, you better get this podcast thrown away though, for real.
I'm helping propagate this play. The people that listen to our show that may not have seen Hamilton might want to see Hamilton now. I'm helping them out. This is free publicity.
It's your boy Chetana.
It's your boy Chetana. Anyways, Aaron, so what was your final point about what were the other things that they didn't do or did do?
We paint him as like this progressive hero, right? I mean, I'm not gonna say none of our founding fathers of this country were heroes, but let's face it, Hamilton also was the one that helped write the Constitution and was a big proponent of letting the South claim Black people as 3/5 of people, a person, because he wanted to make sure the South was part of the Union, right? Mm-hmm. Like he did everything for his own personal, motivated, moving up to high society good. He never called out any of his friends. His mentor was George Washington, who owned hundreds of slaves. His other one was Thomas Jefferson, who owned slaves, had kids by slaves. And then he married into, how'd you pronounce the sister's name, Jared?
The Schuyler sisters is how they pronounce it in the play.
I know you said Schuler. That's I just wanted to make sure. I thought you were doing it on purpose.
Yeah,
so the Schuylers, he married into one of the most politically advanced families. Their father was a New York senator. So he had his own aspirations of moving up in society and wouldn't call out the people. Brandon, I understand what you're saying. Your art should not tell the story of like all of history and all that. But I don't want this revisionist history because to me, what has Jared been bitching about? The white people's silence. What a lot of people bitch about, like white people's silence, right? You're staying silent for this long. And Hamilton was one of those plays that basically stood silent during the whole musical. It was a silent musical. It allowed you to feel good and silent about what was fucking going on.
I mean, they touched on a very little bit about slavery.
What, with the description or some shit?
Here's the thing. You watch the play.
I don't know, Brandon. That's hard, man.
We'll run this conversation back. But you talk about they're supposed to explain all these things in 2 hours and 46 minutes. Like nobody's gonna do that. Like no movie, no play that you can produce is gonna explain the complexities of everybody during that time period.
I have no problem with the story told. My problem is the fact that it allowed white silence to feel good about itself and continue. Like I said, it allowed people to be very comfortable and be like, still feel very progressive in where they are. I mean, I'm listening to hip hop too. My kid is singing Hamilton. You know how many kids at school came when that shit played? All the rich kids. And wasn't that funny? You know it, Jared, in my truck. All the rich kids saw it right away. All the rich kids saw it. And they were
singing songs from it at the talent show.
Yeah, singing songs at the talent show. They knew all about it. Kids
sweet families, but they will laugh.
But they never listened to rap before in their life. And all of a sudden, they love it. So, parents are loving it, putting on Instagram and shit.
But I don't see that as a negative, right? That's your introduction level to something that maybe having a bigger conversation about it, right? What's the influence of the sound that I'm listening to, right? Are they more into that, right? And the same thing that happens with food, right? Like, so I forget what this chef's name is. The guy who originally wrote Fresh Off the Boat, the Asian
Roy
chef.
Choi?
No.
Only Long?
Oh, Eddie Wong.
Eddie Wong, right? He said, like, yeah, you want people
Lucy Liu.
Right, and he said, like, if you want people to like enjoy
Ralph Trans,
like,
man.
You just put it in a burrito, right? Like you got Korean burritos, and that could be somebody's introduction into a bigger conversation about their food. And it's the same thing with art, right? That could be their introduction to a bigger conversation about hip hop and like different ways.
This is what I missed. This is what I missed about COVID, Brandon.
If that's a 50-year-old white woman's first time listening to hip hop, I still feel that's a win, right? I feel like you can listen to that, and maybe they'll be more accepting of other types of hip hop, as opposed to be like, oh, man, you never listen to hip hop, so don't give no chance.
All this is, you know what this is, right? All this is the Kim Kardashian argument over and over and over.
All I'm gonna say is that I agree with Aaron, and I still love the show, though. I still love the show. It was really well done. The music is overall really good, so I'm not gonna hate on that. I see good theater, and I can acknowledge good theater. The roots of the show are something that in my heart I still have dissonance with and not fully on board with, because it's like same thing. It's like it's all about putting bells and whistles on the repackaging of things. And so you had MLK, and he was the driving force of the nonviolent protest, this, that, and the other, to make to kind of glaze over that sense of history. They don't want to talk about slavery. They won't teach it in the schools. They'll gloss over it. But you know what I'm saying? They're like, oh, well, if we can't put bells and whistles on it, we're just going to talk about it for a little bit. But let's get into the colonial war. It's like, wait a minute. So from the colonies and their issue with Britain, we can talk into depth of that. We can talk about My Brother Tom Is Dead. We can learn all about all the colonial shit. But they don't talk about the interactions with the Native Americans and the land and all that shit. And then they barely touch on the slavery component of it. They talk about the dissonance and the disagreement that was going on between them.
But Jared, before you go, Daryl, Jared, before you go down,
but they can't put bells and whistles on it though. That's why they
listen,
won't do it.
Jared, listen. Before you go down the slippery slope, there's a huge difference between putting bells and whistles on something and making art and not telling the whole story. Which they are guilty of. So I do hear that. But I don't think they're putting bells and whistles on the idea of not talking about the story. Putting bells and whistles on something like that would be like putting Malcolm X with a shotgun in the middle of Fortnite. You feel like as a skin. Like that is more putting bells and whistles on the conversation. They're not trying to put him in Hamilton in this world that's euphoric, utopia. I think it's more absurdity in the way in which they're pitching the story. And I think that's okay for the sake of art. If slaves were ballet dancing in the background, that would be putting bells and whistles on.
No, well, bells and whistles is whatever allows you to have this production or this form of information or this presentation in a way where it's distracting you about one thing. You're seeing the picture, but you're being distracted by the things that they want you to be distracted by. They're not actually giving you the time to fully look at it and evaluate it and ask questions because they want you to move on past it. They want you to, continue whatever the narrative is that they're trying to convey to you. And I'm not saying that Hamilton was being. I'm not saying no. I'm not saying that it's supposed to be art. Exactly, I get it. No, but that's the point.
I agree with you, Jared.
That's the point. Is that they put it. They masked it up. They made it beautiful. They made it appealing. It is really well done, and it tells you a certain lens of history that is still, a white man's lens of history. Lin-Manuel Miranda's like, man, I found this book by Alexander Hamilton. I watched the behind the scenes thing where he's sitting in his house, being like playing the piano, like, man, me and my wife about to have a baby. We over here trying to do things. I bought this book, caught me by surprise, and I was like, I couldn't put it down. And then all of a sudden, I started seeing music on the pages and shit. So the motherfucker told the actual biography through a lens of his own, which is his creative centers took over, and he wrote some beautiful music with the other writers to make it. I'm not taking that away from him. I'm just saying is that you produced something that was telling the autobiography of Alexander Hamilton with bells and whistles. And I do agree that, it provided opportunities for Black actors and performance artists to, perform around the world. Dope. Really well done. And I recommend watching.
But you didn't show no slaves. You a slave too.
No, they should have had your boy Chet Hanks on there playing a slave.
I had a question. Was Aaron Burr the villain of the movie?
Yeah, he was a villain.
Because he actually had Black people in his family. His son was half Black.
Yeah, Aaron Burr was he was the likable villain, kind of a sympathetic antagonist. And
this is my thing. Aaron Burr legacy, his family legacy has done more for Black people. They were abolitionists. They were different things. More than Hamilton's legacy.
Connection point right here. Connection point. One thing that they did was, is that Aaron Burr's character was about, don't reveal what your true intentions are. That was his whole platform as a politician. He's like, the more you say, the more they're going to know what side you're on, and they'll decide whether or not to kill you. That's one of his main things. One of his first introductions to the play is told Alexander Hamilton, talk less, smile more. That was the song. He was like, talk less, smile more. Wow. And it was all about him not choosing a side and being in the centrist, being a centrist as a politician, you know what I'm saying? And how Alexander Hamilton was like, nah, man, you got to say what's from you. You got to say it with your chest. Say it from your heart. You got to be what it's about. You got to be what's righteous. You know what I'm saying? And Alexander Hamilton, part of the bells and whistles is he's being portrayed as somebody who was speaking from the heart, speaking his truth, which is fair. He's a white man. That's his truth. So I'm not going to take that away in the time that it was. But at the same time, as from the whole grander scheme of things, when we take a step back and really look at it all, which we have the privilege and vantage point to do so, that's exactly what he was kind of not doing for Black people, even though it's being told by a Black person about him being say it from your chest and really make that change, do the right thing.
And that's what I'm saying. He stood there and stayed silent. For a guy who grew up in St. Croix, didn't own slaves, was working class, and supposedly grew up around all these Black people and supposedly hate slavery, it didn't seem like. His actions didn't show. His actions showed that when it came to his selfish motivations and aspirations, they came first above abolitionist slavery. I felt like Thomas Jefferson, who owned slaves, did more for abolishing slavery than Alexander Hamilton.
Aaron's really sounding Gen Z right now. That's what I'm just saying.
But listen,
he wasn't perfect.
No. You don't have to. No, everybody know. For Aaron Grayson, you ain't gotta be perfect. I'm not a cancel culture person. I'm just saying.
It sounds like you're.
There's a lot of uplifting. There's a lot of people that will suck Alexander Hamilton's dick, right? and there's a lot of people that'll suck his dick if he asked them to. And let me tell you, if Alexander Hamilton was somehow reincarnated and walked down my fucking street, I'll be the first one to say, "Hey, what's up, Alexander Hamilton? Hey, good job on not doing shit." And then I might put, and then I might put a 9mm up to him real quick to show him what this about.
Everybody is actually partially right. Even Jared, right? You know, and I hate agreeing with Jared. There's sides to the story, obviously, that are not portrayed. Vicious parts of the story that could really paint a different picture of the narrative. Agree, right? I think even Brandon would agree on that. I mean, we hear you as that's being told to the people who want that removal of the story to be included because it'd be more powerful to the Black folks' narrative. I hear that, right? That wasn't the art. Like, you get a canvas, man. You paint the canvas, and the canvas was to use Black folks to really share the story. That's the canvas. That's it. Like, y'all asking for them to redo the whole museum in Black art and make sure it's authentic. And I think, like, in the idea of just looking at it as a different picture on the wall, it was a great picture that showed actually a lot of hope and inspiration through Black voices, which was really important. And I think that's the wool over their face. You're telling the weak ass white story of Alexander Hamilton. Cool, that's weak. But you're doing it through people of color's voices. That's what's a powerful thing. But
that's the cleaning up, and that's the thing. Like I said, look, some parts of our history gonna be fucking dirty.
But not all of it is to clean us up. It's also to give inspiration to us, bro. Like, I
felt like it gave inspiration to white people more than it gave inspiration to Black people.
No, but
or people of color.
But it's like, if you wanted all those things, like
it gave inspiration to the progressive left. It made them say, "I need Powell." Powell will understand what I'm talking about. It made the progressive left feel good when they left that motherfucker.
But that's what the outcome is.
Oh, I feel good. But I'm not racist. We might as well start passing out trophies to white people for not being racist. Hey, man, hey, you get a big ass trophy for not being racist. Like, hey. Oh, man, like, hey, let's praise your non-racism.
All I'm going to say to end this conversation is, Aaron, you should watch it. It's worth the presentation and how well it was done. I agree with you wholeheartedly on the reasons why it was hard for me to watch the first and the second time, but have
you watched it on Disney Plus? Since
no, I haven't watched it yet, but I might check it out. But if
can
you
somebody
paint
me some motivation? Tell me, is Leia Salonga playing one of the sisters, some fine ass Filipino? Something, give me something, man. Because let me tell you something. Everyone know Aaron Grayson never had a guilty bone in his body.
All I know, Aaron, is that if you don't watch it, you're gonna be coming to the next show talking about what David Diggs said. And
oh my God, not this.
1789. How does the bastard, orphan, immigrant, decorated war vet unite the colonies through more debt? A two-party system. You haven't met him yet. You haven't had the chance. Because he's been kicking ass as the ambassador to France. Someone got it.
I'm gonna get to the part. There's a part that you gotta hear, Aaron.
You gotta keep playing it.
He ain't playing. I'm gonna just tell you guys right now, he ain't giving no good motivation. Dude, turn that shit off over there.
Now the work at home begins.
Here's this hostage with the Hamilton. Like,
so what did I miss? What did I miss?
That sounds like some cheesy ass shit.
Virginia, my home, sweet home. I wanna give you a kiss.
It's a musical. 90% of it's gonna be cheesy. It's a musical.
90% of this podcast is about to get cut. That's the real truth.
Aaron, you're gonna be talking about what did I miss? We have Peadro joining us. We have Peadro.
I have to listen to Dr. Dre the Chronic just so I don't feel like, you know.
All right. Well, in our what's up, Peadro? How you doing, brother?
I'm trying to put the steering wheel cover on this car and it's not working.
Oh, man, that's a real Arizona shit right there.
Peadro,
you need a steering wheel cover on there. Hey, you got that mink fur steering wheel cover? Or you got the flames on it? Oh, damn. Look at you, Peadro, over here looking like a Caltrans worker. All right.
Let me show y'all for the podcast.
He's sitting in the middle. I don't understand that either.
This is my baby.
Ooh, this painted orange too? Yeah.
I love that rock garden. I love that rock garden, Pedro. After the show, says rock garden.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Well, this is the baby. This is the big, beautiful orange woman. They never let me down.
That's how you know Pedro's from
tan lady.
That's how you know Pedro's from LA, because he dresses in shirts to match his cars.
and I guarantee he's wearing hoop shorts and flip flops. He real LA with it right now. His truck is Donald Trump orange. That's nice.
Shit. All right. Well, in other news, some entertainment news, Aisling and Sanya came out and announced that he is in love with Jada Smith Pinkett.
Dude, you pronounced the name all
Magic.
wrong. Magic moment yourself.
Man.
His name is August.
No, he can't even call
It's a month of the year, Jarrett.
Azalea Azanga.
His name is August, dude. Magic moment this shit right now.
August Aisling. What's his name?
August Alsina. I said it right.
No, you did not.
August.
I've had a song on my shit forever.
It's not August Aslina.
So how do you say it?
The letters all jumbled up here. It's August.
Alsina. Yeah, you're right. Hey, man, I got 2 of his songs on my iTunes, man. The Encore is my jam.
Well, this week, August, which we'll just say his name is August, came out and pronounced his truth about his love for Jada Pinkett Smith and spilled the beans on the Breakfast Club about his intimate relationship with Jada Pinkett Smith with the blessing of one Mr. Will Smith. If you don't know, it's been rumored or well known that the Smiths are, polyamorous or have an open style relationship. But this is the first person to come out and formally speak on having some kind of part in one of those relationships. What y'all think about that?
Well, I was concerned because I found out I was in a polysexual relationship too. Some dude
What's
named
polysexual? Okay, polysexual is something totally new. All right, polyamorous? Are you poly pocketing with your dick, nigga? Like, what is the poly part? I'm in a polysexual.
Well, I thought I was in a monogamous sexual.
Monogamous. Man, I don't know what situation you in. Monogamous polysexual.
But I've been missing some clothes around here, so I have to blame it on the other partner.
What could you find? He said
I couldn't find my belt.
He couldn't find his belt. And he said, "Man, I think my wife's boyfriend fucking walked off of my belt." And me, Paul, and Ed were on the floor.
Polysexual means you can do sex everywhere, my nigga.
No,
like, that's what that means.
I can have sex anywhere. I'm not having sex with everybody.
Okay, that's polyamorous.
Polyamorous, okay. So I found out it was Poly August.
I was a poly Alsina.
No, but Hollywood has been strange in that way. At least they're open about it. What's the dude's name? Jediah, that singer from South Africa. He's got a whole bunch of chicks.
South Africa, man, that nigga from a black man.
Well, he said he's from Africa.
Well, his dad, his dad was African. He lived a little bit of his life out there with his grandfather.
Okay,
he went to South Africa for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, but he was like Nigerian. His grandfather's Nigerian and had like 8 wives or some shit, which is the norm out there.
Aaron's like Rotten Tomatoes for how black you are.
No. Pedro over here gonna try to uplift him and act like this fool's some South African prince or some shit or some like long lost relative of Nelson Mandela when the motherfucker from fucking Drew Hill, Baltimore. Right? Living in some fucking crack house. And Pedro like, oh man, I think he's a Gambian prince.
Nigga said he was black. I checked his Aaron score. The shit said 75.
Exactly. Check the Aaron score. Well, here's the thing. Aaron, to me, the black experience is different. I ain't Jared. I ain't gonna sit here and say Meghan Markle ain't black or Logic or some shit like that. But I ain't gonna let you call somebody some African prince when the motherfucker went to Crenshaw High with you and Walker was next to yours.
We had some legit Nigerians in high school, man. Like
there's legit Nigerians. They all play on the football team. That's why they won That's why they won state last year. Thanks to all the Nigerians.
I didn't know Africans were so amazing at football.
Man, those Nigerians love them some football. Thank God for Christian Okoye.
Peace out to Christian Okoye. Hey, look, but Hollywood is strange in that way. They often date each other's stars, and they sleep around. So they just doing a normal thing. If you look at like our hip hop stars, Kim Kardashian, how many people done slept with her? How many people done slept with Erykah Badu? It's just Hollywood, man.
And ruined their career.
Probably not as much as Justin Bieber put together.
Yeah, I know. You name some people with some low end sleep together.
I'm about to say, Erykah Badu, Kim Kardashian. Probably, I mean, Tigers probably had that number times 8 or 9.
Yeah, you name some really low end. Charlie Sheen.
We're talking about sleeping with other people's.
Charlie Sheen, Denise Richards. When I think of people whoring around, I'm thinking of people like that, right?
Danny Brown got his dick sucked on stage. I mean, let's just start there. He's like a really low end rapper. They were just sucking his dick while he was rapping.
But Pedro, I'm 100% with you. Hollywood is strange like that. Eddie Murphy, they sleep with everybody and anything and everything. So I'm with Pedro. I ain't surprised by it. I'm just wondering, how can I get my name on the list? Jada, I remember you from Low Down Dirty Shame, Girl, and Menace to Society. And unlike Pedro, my version of Menace to Society, Kane died at the end. Unlike Pedro version, which Kane stayed alive. We lost Pedro right at the perfect joke, too. But Pedro saw a bootleg Menace Society, which Kane was still alive at the end.
Both things happened.
Yeah, there's a bootleg version.
No, there's not a bootleg version. In the movie theater version, he did die.
He died.
But Pedro, he didn't come back. His voice kept narrating the movie. That did happen.
But no,
that did happen.
There was a second version because there was a rapper that came out recently because, in LA, there's a lot of bootlegs go around, and it was a take where he didn't die at the end. He stayed alive.
No, I remember he got shot in the car. It was a rap, but then his voice kept going.
And Pedro, his teacher, showed them a bootleg on the last day of school. Only Crenshaw High can you watch Menace to Society at school. Let you know.
It's real education.
We watched Any Given Sunday, man, at school.
Well, at least Any Given Sunday didn't have killing. I mean, it had people getting blowjobs in bathrooms.
Taking cocaine off of strippers' titties, but that's different.
That's still bad, but I think that's much better than how many people died in Menace to Society. He shot a Korean store owner in the head. And then shot his wife up.
I was in a trigonometry class and they let us watch The Matrix.
Come on, Jared. Now, that's the lightest one. At least me and Brandon, we're on 2 different pages from you, Jared. You might as well watch Hamilton.
I'm telling you, Aaron, you're gonna show up and be all like,
so what did I miss? What did I miss?
It's the last podcast. So
can somebody put on a chat group not to mention Hamilton again, please? I won't.
This shit over.
Like I said, I wasn't surprised. The rumor's been out there for a while about their relationship. That's why I think they came out with that saying like a year ago or whatever months ago or a year ago when they were like, well, we're life partners. It's not really about a marriage between us. And they've always been that way. The rumor's been out since Will Smith was in Hitch that he was like they had that kind of open relationship.
You telling me he got with Eva Mendes?
Oh, a lot of people. That's where it started.
Yeah, I think he's been fucking Margot Robbie for years.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because they keep being in the same movie. But that's where the rumor started.
Beautiful wide woman.
It started with Eva Mendes when he saw like the behind the scenes cut, and then when they were doing the press junket going from place to place. That's how it started with the whole Will Smith, and that's how a lot of people were doing their digging from there. And like I said, I'm just trying to figure out how I get on this list, man. That's my only thing. Like I'm hearing this. Hey. Unlike him, obviously, he started the relationship before they started doing NDAs. Is that what it's called? NDAs?
Yeah,
non-disclosure agreements.
Yeah.
Obviously, he didn't have one.
Aaron, what part of the agreement is you got to fuck Will first?
Then I'm out. I ain't attracted to him at all.
Just making sure. I didn't know that could be a part of the whole stipulation where you can get the data unlimitedly.
I don't find Will Smith attractive, so I'm out.
Well, if you remember that movie, 7 Degrees of Separation, Will Smith was in a homoerotic scene, bucket naked, scissoring with another man. So.
No, he wasn't butt naked. He had his legs spread wide open.
No, he was. Yeah, he was assed out. No, he was bucket ass naked.
Bucket naked.
Man, y'all ain't seen that movie?
I didn't see it all.
Man, y'all need to go see it. Otherwise, you're gonna be like.
So what did I miss?
Just imagine
That had
driving down
nothing
the
to
street
do
with
with
his hand
the
going up in the air like this.
Well played, Jared.
Wait. Like what, Brandon? Do that again? Like what?
Just imagine Jared driving down the street like that from his trip, just the whole way back.
In sports news, time for reckoning for one Mr. Daniel Snyder. It has been asked formally by FedEx, the owners of the naming rights for the FedEx Field in Washington, D.C., for the Washington football team, also formerly or still known as the Redskins, to change their name. This also comes on the heels of Daniel Snyder coming out and saying that they were going to take down the plaque, the statue, and from the Ring of Honor, the name of their original owner, one Mr. George Preston Mitchell. He was the last known NFL owner to integrate with black players, basically being forced by the Interior Secretary back in 1962. He was asked by the Interior Secretary to change the name, or they would revoke the lease that they had signed, a 30-year lease, because the stadium was built on federal land. So, yeah, 2 weeks after Daniel Snyder took down George Preston Mitchell from his Ring of Honor, took down a statue and a placard, they are now being asked to do the real work, which is change the name. What do you guys think about that?
I think I seen them post. But they said they were thinking about renaming them, or this was a suggested name of renaming them the Red Tails?
Red Tails,
yeah,
yep.
Red Tails.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would be pretty cool, but let me ask you this. Is that kind of pandering to, let's just say, would that offend anybody?
What about all the Germans they shot down?
Yeah, so serious, something serious being about a football team. I don't know, cancel culture. How would you guys feel about that? I would think it'd be cool.
I think it'd be cool. I think that if they're really trying to honor any Native American history, that they shouldn't name it something that's like BLM movement right now. It makes sense. That's the main thing that people are trying to reconcile throughout the country. Companies, corporations, they're having a tough time. They're realizing a lot of the subtleties or the systematic ways that they have, further marginalized or helped perpetuate forms of oppression against Black people. This is about the Native Americans right now. And so I there's intersectionality about it, but I don't want this to be co-opted by Black people or by Black Lives Matter to be turned into something that's about Black Lives Matter as much as it is about honoring, representing, and hopefully in a dignified, respectful way, the history of our peoples, the history of our country, the history of Native Americans. Now, I'm not saying the NFL represents that at all or is trying to, but what I am saying is that if you are going to have a mascot or you're going to have the name of a team, that you should do something that is wholly acknowledged or roundly acknowledged by the people that it's representing as something that is dignified and respectable for them. So I still think that there should be something that reverts to the understanding of, the Native American past and history of our country, because if we just change it to Black people, then we're going to be like, well, now we get to ignore the whole fucking genocide of Native Americans. We'll just focus on reconciling Blackness. And I'm all for reconciling the Blackness, but this is about Native American strife. And this is something that we can identify with in many ways, but this is about the Native American strife and their grief, and we stand in solidarity with them. So I think we need to move forward in a way that's going to name it that represents them. So
I agree with Jared. Like, it should be named after a native tribe, kind of like the Florida State Seminoles, how they got permission from the Seminoles to name their nickname after that. The proceeds of it go to help the Seminoles in Florida. Like, find the native tribes that's in Virginia. There were several native tribes like that. So it should be named after a native tribe. Let's not jump and start doing this whole like let's jump on what the fad is, right? I don't want this movement to be a fad, like you said, Pedro. Want it to be serious, and this is an issue about Native, Jared said.
Native Americans are playing football. Like, what have they contributed to football society? I think it's a little unfair and almost gawking to like throw their past into our American present, and it's kind of fucked up to think about like the notion of one, the Redskins. Honestly, 100% agree. But then two, like, I think that pivot is even dumber though. Like, I think if we like stay on this path of like embarrassing a small subset community with using their like the whole genocide of their people, like if we use that name or those ideas, it's just gonna be pretty traumatic. Like, I would hate it to turn into like, instead of the Cleveland Indians, it turns into like the Cleveland like Como. You know, that's the actual tribe, or the Cleveland Iroquois. And it's like, that's kind of fucked up. That's even bigger fucked up because, like, what are they doing to actually, like, progress the Native American community?
Well, and that's why I say you work with them. Give them a piece, you know, give them a little piece of the merchandising. Give them a little piece of this.
I say give them either the stadium rights, or if you're named on that land, like, give them the land back. Like,
no, they ain't gonna never do that.
They ain't gonna do that.
They ain't gonna do no shit like that. That shit ain't gonna happen.
We're trying to get some groundbreaking land, and they ain't trying to hear that.
Yeah.
Just, I say walk away. It's been hella disrespectful for years, and either they should. I think you're absolutely right, Aaron. I mean, I think there should be some type of compensation, but
something.
I don't think they should keep playing this game. It's a little sensitive. It's America's pastimes. I just think it's just unfair if you just keep going down that path without like some real thought in how to use like resources.
No, I agree with Adarius. Like, I feel like you just need to make a clean pivot away from the whole Native American conversation. And it's not being disrespectful. It's just saying that, like, you're not going to see any Native Americans on the field. Like, they're not going to continuously improve the lives of Native Americans in that area. So it's just a name. If it's being disrespectful, like, let them own their name and let them decide what they want to do with it, as opposed to, number one, making the Washington franchise accountable for it and putting that sort of onus on the NFL to keep the Native American tradition alive. Like, they're a business. Like, they don't have to be in the business of, you know, upholding native traditions or keeping history alive. You know, like, that's what museums do. That's what schools are supposed to be doing. They don't necessarily need to be named after a football team, you know, because, like, we don't, you know.
But
like,
if you're gonna be, what if you're derogatory for as long as they've been? I want something to be honest. And it wasn't the fans; it was the owner didn't want to switch it. He said never.
No, this came up 5 years ago, and he said, "I'm not
never
switching this shit. Never."
He said never 5 years
He dug in. He dug in for real, and like put a line in his head and said, "No, you're not. I'm not going to change this name. I don't give a fuck what you say."
And that's why I say do like Florida State. Florida State has permission for the Seminoles. The Seminole Native tribe love the fact that Florida State is called the Seminoles. For them, they see it as a way of them getting their name out there and uplifting even the people who are stuck on these shitty ass reservations. Right? Give us something.
They do still do the tomahawk chop though.
That's the majority of the Seminoles. Like, not everybody who's a Seminole would agree with that, right? So you can.
They got a chief, man. They got a chief.
The Redskin is just this general derogatory term. So who are you representing? Because people see that symbol and they think about the Native Americans in California as well as they do on the plains and the way they do in the South and in the North. So it doesn't actually represent any particular Native tribe. So how do you decide who it offends and who is not going to offend? I'm just saying they just need to eject out of the conversation and name it something else. Like,
look, man. There's two things. You can't stop a couple of things. You can't stop a white person from tomahawking at a game, at a Braves game, or a Chiefs game, or a Redskin game, and you can't stop a white person from feeling good about themselves after watching Hamilton, right? And so part of that
want to
is...
say we're going to stop talking about Hamilton.
Don't do it, Jared.
So what did I miss? What did I miss?
David might personally kick us off the podcast.
Hey, shout out to David Diggs. Come on our show, sponsorship. Adarius, don't you know him personally? Could you get him on the show ever, you think, Adarius?
Nah, I don't ever want to ask him for shit. I just talk to him.
See, that's what you need to do. But hey, bro, come on our show. We'll talk to you about your future projects. You know what I'm saying? That's how we network, Adarius. No, that's how we network, bro.
Me and him were texting recently back and forth, and we were talking about the idea of putting fat heads on people's houses of different politicians or people, so it kind of shows like what side you take in the middle of these protests. So they're not gonna fuck with your shit.
That'd be funny. Well, tell him to come on the show, and we can talk about that idea, and we'll help give him a platform to speak from.
He needs this platform, right?
Yeah, he needs. Because all I know is that if David Diggs sees us blow up and he come to the show late, we already blown up. We don't need his ass. He'll be like,
"So what did I miss? What did I miss?"
We're definitely getting shut down now.
Shout out to David Diggs sponsorship. Come on our show. You went to Berkeley High with me. Come on, man. A couple years above me. Let's do this, baby. Represent.
I can't support this.
So overall, all I'm gonna say is, for me personally, Like, if they want to pivot completely away from the Redskins and that history of the name and change it to something that has nothing to do with Native Americans, that's fine. Like, they can do that. They come up with a whole nother name. I get that.
They should be the Washington Chatanas.
They should be the Washington Chatanas.
Washington Chatanas.
But yeah, like FedEx paid over $200 million to naming rights. So when they got that pressure put on them to change the name, like, you knew it was starting to get real. And you've seen that with a lot of companies, a lot of corporations, as they've been, trying to, deal with and reconcile a lot of these past improprieties or systems of continued oppression that they've been taking part in. You saw FedEx put the pressure on them. And it was just ironic that Daniel Snyder was taking down the previous owner's name and doing all that. And it's like, bro, you still have the name, the Redskins, which has been the main issue in the first place. People weren't tripping off the original owner because that's part of history. It is part of history. Yeah, if you want to take him down from your ring of honor, I get it. But if you want to keep him up there, that's fine. He helped build that team into the franchise it was. It is. But at the same time, if you want to rename it and honor in whatever way you can as a white person or white corporations, which is still going to be kind of, a difficult task anyways, and it's going to be some gray areas. You want to honor Native Americans, then you name it something that honors Native Americans, whether it's part of tribes in that area or it's a general just understanding of the history of Native Americans and how their history was stunted and vastly impacted by American growth and expansion and development. And so all is not forgiven and all is not forgotten. But the main point is we don't want to continue to perpetuate what we have for over like 75 years being named the Redskins or 60 years being named the Redskins. You've had generations of people who have been indoctrinated and casually, understanding this racial slur as being acceptable, this racial slur to be something that is not putting people down, even though the people who are telling you, hey, that shit puts me down. That shit is painful. That shit is reminding us of things that we would rather not be having to deal with and seeing people celebrate it in this way. So I think there is some work to be done.
Talking about the Cleveland Browns.
No, it's named after the Brown family.
Yeah, it's named after the original owner.
It was a little Tinkerbell looking nigga. I remember the mascot. It was a little Tinkerbell.
Yeah, I do that.
And he was brown. He was a brown little fucking fairy. That was the mascot. That is the Brown.
Well, what do you guys think? Do you guys have any other names that you think that they should name or could name it to? The Red Tails was a good idea, but I think that would be pivoting into the wrong direction and reappropriating it to something that wouldn't be the ideal of what the emphasis of why the issue is with the name.
I say something that's really poetic, especially since, they always use animals. I think something really poetic would be to use a native animal or a native bird, and their logo could be a feather. It'd be something to name them after a rock or a steel, or not steel, or a feather, or something that'd be like poetic and calls back to the Native American tribe.
I would name them either Little Bighorn or named after that whoever the Native American was that killed General Custer.
Oh, Wild Coyote.
Man, just do that, man. Go hard out. You know what? We're going to change names. Let's go hard out with our names, man. Let's name it after that. Whichever native put that spear through Custer, name them after that one.
Coyotes is nice.
Yeah, Coyotes is nice.
Yeah.
But in Wyoming, a spear up Alexander Hamilton.
Yeah, the Alexander Hamiltons, the Washington Hamiltons.
Let me tell you what I wish I'd known when I was young and dreamed of glory. You have no control. Who lives, who dies, who tells your story?
President Jefferson, I'll give him this. His financial system is a work of genius. I couldn't undo it if I tried. And I tried.
Jonathan Irons was released this week. Most notably, he was freed because of WNBA star and all-around basketball icon Maya Moore's work. This week culminated in the years of effort to help free a man who was wrongfully convicted. What do you guys think about that?
He's been in jail since he was 17, man.
Yeah, he was charged as an adult also at 17 years old.
Yeah, hey, you know what? I ain't got no problem with no 17-year-old being charged as an adult if it's an adult crime. But he was wrongly accused. And shout out for Maya Moore. You know what? She put basketball aside and felt like she had a mission and a purpose and doing it, She doing stuff to make her feel happy. She don't have to go watch a play to feel happy.
Mm-hmm. Aaron, it sounds like you like Kim Kardashian.
Hey, Kim Kardashian is doing her thing too.
There we go, my God.
Kim Kardashian doing her thing.
Doing her thing.
Adarius, when it comes to the Kim Kardashian, I'm with you on this one. I don't know what Jared tripping off of. She doing the thing, helping people out.
I ain't never said nothing wrong about Kim Kardashian and the work she's doing in the criminal justice system. I never put her down for that. I only put her down for the shit that was the source of her fame and thus the source of her empire. That's all.
I just want to say, even then, the narrative is still, you can fucking Google this. The narrative is still like she sacrificed her time for this man.
Yeah.
It's a family member of hers. And that shit hits home, bro. I'm talking about...
It's a family member? I didn't see anything about them being family members.
Exactly. Look it up. It's a family member of hers, bro. It's not just like a rando off the street who she felt compelled to fuck up her whole career for.
Ooh, how are they related? I haven't seen no articles written about them being...
It's either a brother-in-law or a cousin.
It's not. He was 17 and he's been in prison since he was 17, bro. He's 40 years old. Who did he marry?
What does that mean? No.
You're saying that they're... hold on. No. You show me the article and then I'll be like, oh, well, I didn't see that. All the articles I've seen is that she met him going into her freshman year of college at because she's from the area and she had heard about a story. They met and they kept in touch.
Or a friend. I mean,
it's a friend. There's a big difference. They met.
That's not a big difference. Or whatever, like a friend.
That is. It's like, nigga, you said they were in-laws. I was like, that's a big difference.
Because somebody said that was her brother.
She was 7 years old when he went to jail.
Bruh, what the fuck are you talking about, bro?
Won't y'all just look it up? Aaron, why don't you look it up?
We have the article right here. But kudos to Maya Moore, though. She for sure took her platform, put it in a tangible manner that was that's inspiring, and I would just say one of the great sacrifices that she could do. Like she sacrificed in her playing prime and did it unexpectedly, and she was ready to sit out this season too. There's no telling whether or not she's going to join back in. She did say she wanted to continue to work for reform, so she might be sitting out this season also once again. But I just think that it's a beautiful thing to see athletes using that power that they have to make some change. Like the dude from Mississippi State, made that tweet and announced that he wasn't going to play for Mississippi State anymore unless Mississippi changed their state flag. And in doing that, there was a lot of backlash against them. You saw a lot of the people who are apparently not racist but love college football and love seeing Negroes represent their team and will cheer them on 100,000 people at a time in a stadium with 100,000 people. But once he made that statement about his beliefs and what, the history made him feel, people were like, we don't need you anyways, or you get free tuition, you need to shut up and play type shit. But a week later, the legislator changed the flag, So it's beautiful to see people who are, whose careers can be so short. Number one, there's no guaranteeing you make it to the pros. There's no guaranteeing that you last in the pros. To be able to take that chance and make that sacrifice for a greater good, I think is amazing. So kudos to Maya Moore in my eyes, and kudos to Kalen something. I got to look at his name, but Kylan Hill.
Brandon, did you look up the connection to Maya Moore and that guy, Germany?
So apparently they were in the same prison ministry group or whatever. They all went like a part of the same church. That's the information I got so far on that.
Yeah,
he wasn't a complete stranger. Like like the family knows who he is.
Well, he's gonna move in with her parents or grandparents or godparents or something like that, and they're gonna help support him while he gets on his feet.
And that's the level of trust she needs to be commended for, because you don't know how this person has changed in prison over 22 years.
Yeah,
no clue. Like, oh man, I knew he was 17. Like, man, I know people when I was 17 that if I wouldn't be in the same room with them alone.
Some of them are family members.
Right. He gonna turn into the dude from who was it? Don't be a menace to South Central while drinking your juice, where he's trying to bring cigarettes to the domino table and bet with that and shit. He's like,
I made him dinner, but he just made top ramen and rolled it up in a plastic bag.
Come on. And I thought the foil was gonna burn in the microwave, but he took it out just in time.
He started making wine at the toilet. Maya Moore is a superhero to me. I mean, to give up what she did, and it only took it has to take a woman to do that, or a WNBA player. One of the top players, they have to take the tension off the WNBA to save a man's life. You see what this takes, people. It takes so much, and And it should be coming from the community. Man, it's a shame. It's sad. But kudos to her. Shout out to her.
Kudos to her. Sad. I'm gonna agree, Pedro. Sad. Pedro gonna give her a follow on Instagram because of this.
Yeah, exactly. Then I'm gonna follow that big teammate she got that's kind of sexy that nobody really pay attention to.
But I mean, it's not unheard of for like a WNBA player to miss a year because they, with like pregnancy or something like that. Like other players have done, taking off a year and come back with and like haven't missed a step.
Yep, they fuck around with Tristan Thompson. They're gonna miss more than a year. Fuck around Tristan Thompson. They're gonna miss 2 years.
Is that iPhone ringer copyrighted? Because we really gotta
might get pulled for that too, man. Jared will get us pulled for everything.
All right, what are we talking about next, man?
Well, you want to talk about the race to dinner, Brandon?
I don't think it's more of a quick hitter. Like they have a couple of a couple women started this race to dinner. I mean, I guess it's a business now, right? So they would go to dinner with a bunch of white women and really talk about race with them, like how the actions they're having or conversations they have around it are actually can be problematic and racist. And it just sort of taken off, right? So they make all these white women read the book White Fragility. That's like one of the required readings to like come to dinner. And they're charging like groups of people like $2,500. Well, they were charging people $2,500, but now it's like $5,000 for this 2-hour dinner to specifically talk about race with white women. Oh.
Hey, can I be a paid guest on this motherfucker?
Can I be a facilitator of this dinner? I'll hook a brother up. I love beautiful white women and discussing all the nuances of white women.
It started out as like she just got tired of having to talk to all of her white friends individually, so she just invited them all over to dinner to talk about why she would complain about different things about as far as like black and white at her job. And then her friend also had sort of the same experience with like where she would bring up race at work and people would be offended or like this or that. And so they just decided to start inviting people over, and then they just started charging for it. Like, so, this group of people like thought that conversation was really good. So, hey, can they come over to dinner too? And like, we'll talk more about race. It's like, no, we're gonna start charging people. And so now it's the thing, man. They're booked out like every week.
Man, it sounds like Hamilton, bro.
Like,
all these beautiful white women talk about you had dinner where? Wait, tell me more.
So what did I miss? What did I miss?
Gotta wonder why this episode's missing from the catalog. He got sued.
Cutty Corner Shoutouts. Cutty Corner Shoutouts is a segment we end the show with every week. It is an opportunity for everyone to have the floor to speak on something that has been upsetting them, bothering them, or it could be a positive shout out to something that they want to draw attention to in a positive light. It is derived originally as a negative connotation because of some bammer, bang, bang, bammer tree we got back in New York from one of Adarius' many friends that went by the name of Cutty. Cutty Corner Shoutouts. Cutty Corner Shoutouts.
It's time.
We're burning now. God, if you listen, help! So cold and bleeding now. I'm in for it, man. Gonna let you down. He had sex with my mama. We're broken people now. I just said I need a
Aaron, do you have a Cutty Corner shout out?
I do, and this one's serious now. I know I'm a serious note. I know I've been joking around a lot on the podcast when I'm arguing Mia Khalifa or wishing my girl Olivia Munn a happy birthday. I know I was doing all those things, but this one is a real serious note. This goes out to the millennials and cancel culture. Cancel culture is very sickening. I understand there is a reason for canceling, like, some of these Confederate statues, things like that. But there's some things that shouldn't be canceled, and the people don't realize the cancel culture affects people's culture and families. My family is one that has really been affected by this. And particularly my aunt and uncle have been affected, and now because of cancel culture, I might never get a chance to see them again. And I'm really sad by that. I'm really hurt. I feel like millennials, you guys trying to change everything too far. Because of this, I might not be able to see my Uncle Ben or my Aunt Jemima ever again. And, you know, these are people that grew up in a household, and I'm really hurt by it. You know, Aunt Jemima was accepted into white people's household. My Aunt Jemima was accepted to white people's household when other black people never made it into that household. My Uncle Ben sat and had dinner at many white homes.
He was a trailblazer.
He was a trailblazer. First person. Brandon want to show us white women having dinner over race. They already was having it with one black woman there. Aunt your mama was there. Uncle Ben was there, leading the way. Just like Mammy and Gone with the Wind. This is our history. This is for our family. These are our trailblazers. These are people that should be up in that monumental garden that Trump talked about. I want Aunt your mama and Mrs. Butterworth sitting side by side, holding hands, and I want a statue of them with me in the middle, holding a fucking platter of flapjacks and pancakes, wherever you call it in your place. I want that in the middle because I don't want to cancel this. I'm tired of people telling me, no, cancel this, cancel that. Let's take down the statue of Christopher Columbus. I'm fine with that. Take down the statue of Christopher Columbus, but keep my Aunt your mama in her place. Now, because of you, I got to go out and go to Safeway and buy me a bottle just so I can have the remembrance of that. But Uncle Ben, I'm sorry. Uncle Ben taught me how to wear a bow tie. My Uncle Ben taught me how to wear a bow tie and how to sit there and how to work with a smile on your face. Because every day ain't easy. Every day wasn't easy for Uncle Ben. Every day wasn't easy, but he sat there and he always had a smile on his face.
With great power comes great responsibility, they say.
And he took the responsibility. And now people want to sit here and cancel him. They want to cancel Uncle Ben. Now white people ain't gonna have nobody in their fucking house. You gonna go to West Virginia and now these young white kids in West Virginia ain't gonna never see a black person. Why? Because we're taking away Gone with the Wind off of Disney Plus. We're taking away Uncle Ben. We're taking away Aunt your mama. You know? So what? The only thick woman they gonna see is Mrs. Butterworth's huge, a thick ass? I'm sorry, but Kevin got that one. I just want Aunt your mama and Uncle Ben's in everybody's household. And that's all I got to say.
Hey, Aaron, what was your aunt's name again?
My aunt?
Yeah.
Aunt your mama. I don't know what you called your auntie, but mine's Aunt your mama.
Adarius, do you have a Cutty Corner shout out?
Yes, sir. So just for the culture, again, my Cutty Corner shout out this week goes out to Kelly Ann Conway. Look, man, as one parent to another parent, you got to learn how to control your kids. Unless you are dumb as shit. Now, it looks like in this case, your kid is smarter than you. So there's some times where you can learn from your kid and they should be taking control. Kelly Ann, let your kid take control of the situation. You are dumb as Cheeto dust because you siding with complete white supremacists is not on my radar anymore. And thank God for your daughter putting you in check, even if it's in a way that's going to get her removed from all of her inheritance. I think she is about it.
Brandon, do you have a Cutty Corner shout out?
Yeah, man. So I've been really trying to support other Black entrepreneurs, especially online, right? I've been trying to like repost their stuff, like engage with them a lot more. And so you find these people that are either business owners or like they're motivational people, stuff like that. And a lot of their messaging is just it hits wrong for me a lot of times because I feel like it's a very brand new thing that Black people don't own businesses. Like Black people are just generally entrepreneurial to begin with. You go to like Ghana or Nigeria, all these other places, like Black people own businesses. Like that's part of like just the culture. You go to Jamaica, that's a part of the culture. Like you have a bunch of people, all these small businesses. And I feel like we sell ourselves short as Black people feeling like just starting the business is enough, right? Like you got to make sure that shit pops off too. And I feel like I've been getting a lot of discussions this week with business owners like, oh man, I overcame because I started this business that makes $300 a month. Like, no, like we really need to like focus on our systems and really build up our community in a positive way rather than discussing so much about the things that are in the way of getting to that progress. And I feel like a lot of people don't realize, just how good it is to like try to start a business in America, even how fucked up it is, like being Black in this country. I feel like we have a bigger head start than a lot of other people. right? Like with this whole COVID thing, like you really need to meet people where they are rather than, shaming people into supporting you, into just trying to make it seem like you have to support me because I'm black, not just because I'm good and black, and I happen to be black. I know I feel like I'm rambling right now, but I really just want to focus on, just really, promoting black business, but really just focusing on producing quality content, number one, as opposed to, looking for charity for people. And I go back to like this conversation I had with like a Jewish dude that owns like a laundromat. He's like, yeah, like I look out for my, Jewish people, but at the same time, I'm not going to give them a discount on anything, right? Like if it's equal, I'll go with the Jewish version. But if it's cheaper, I'm going to go with whoever is going to give me the better price. And I feel like that's the way I feel like black people should be looking at it, as opposed to like, oh yeah, my friend, is not really serious about this business. Number one is, their product's really shitty, but I'm gonna support them just because, X, Y, and Z. Like I feel like that gives people false hope and false sense of validation when you support something that's bullshit. It also reminds me of like this. If you watch the series Black as Fuck on Netflix, they talked about this too. Like when he talks about, going to having to talk about a movie that he really didn't like and try to talk about it from a perspective like, oh, okay, I can't say anything bad about this movie because it's a black person who made it, and we don't really get a lot of opportunities,
Pedro, do you have a Cutty Corner shout out?
Yes, I do. Okay, people. So what I'm doing right now, I'll just show you real quick. I have to show this in the visual.
We gotta tell it too. Oh shit.
Yeah. This is a map.
That looks like a one titty bra.
Yeah. One titty bra I got on because I like big size F titties. Wear this, okay? This is what keeps us. This is what we can catch up to Japan. We can catch up to Germany. We can catch up to Australia, New Zealand, damn, even Africa, if we have these on, okay? This is my Cutty Cutter shout out goes to white privileged man and Karens talking about breathing God's air. Right now, God's air is poisoned by the same people you support. Put this mask on so you can get back to your normal white life. I don't want to hear anybody talking about, well, yeah, I believe in it, but I just don't want to wear a mask. Fool, follow some type of guidelines. Americans are so stupid when it comes to following rules. What happened to, and especially white men? I'm sorry, I got to get on y'all white men. Enough is enough. I want every white man to hear this. If the people at the top are getting sick, what does that mean for you? You can possibly get sick. Wear your mask, do all the health things that we can so we can get back to just popping fireworks or whatever the hell you want to celebrate. Hang up your Confederate flag, put up your Trump stickers on the back of your pickup trucks, whatever the hell you want to do. But first we need to wear these masks so we can get healthy. Now, shit, I'm tired of it. Don't complain about it. It's just what it is.
My Cutty Corner shout out goes out to the conglomerate of the San Francisco Apartment Association, the SF Association of Realtors, the Coalition for Better Housing, and small property owners of San Francisco Institute for suing the city of San Francisco over its COVID-19 tenant protections ordinance, namely the eviction moratorium they are trying to sue the city for to get it reversed. Hey, I understand landlords. There's people who own houses, small landlords. I get it. Some of y'all make your living off your tenants paying rent. Number one, they've been paying an exorbitant, most expensive price for years. And if you own that motherfucker, you've been making a lot of money for years. And if you one of these other bigger corporations of realtors and other shit in apartment association, y'all motherfuckers is making money hand over fist for years also. Like, how y'all gonna sue when we trying to take care of this pandemic? When people who are not having income can't pay the rent, What should we do? How should we go about this? Are you guys writing the legislation? Are you guys writing ideas of how we can alleviate the situation? Because most of these moratoriums don't mean that they don't have to pay it back at some point. Most of the agreements that you guys come up with don't mean that the tenants are not having to pay this back at some point. You are expecting them to pay that back at some point. These months, they're not just like lost months. Y'all are going to get some money at some point. So, you know what I'm saying, for y'all to be suing cities who are trying to protect the people, who are trying to protect the rights of tenants, which when you look at the grand scheme of things, what is a lease written for? A lease is not written to protect the tenant. In some ways, like if you're living in squalor because the landlord is not taking care of shit and it's beyond negligence that they're not providing water or whatever is written into the contract, like, yeah, then a tenant has power. But the main reason why a lease is written, they want you to sign a lease, is so that you can't refuse to pay rent, or so that you can't just bounce out when you feel like it. They lock tenants in. So the system is still schemed for tenants to still be paying. The whole point is they're paying anyways, but the scheme is not for them to have the protections. The scheme is meant for you guys to have the protections. And we've gone 3 months with y'all having something to where, you know, you can't evict people because of the fact that they can't pay their rent, and y'all are making your hand over fist money, and all of a sudden y'all got a real issue. You got to take legal action. Fuck all y'all for that bullshit. We all in shitty situations right now. Yes, we understand that you're not making the normal money that you're used to. Yes, you might have employees that you need to pay. Yes, you might have to have ends meet that you need to make. I get that. So does everyone else that's living in your goddamn buildings. You fucking pretentious ass, selfish, self-righteous piece of monkey crap. You need to eat a bag of dicks, bitch ass motherfuckers. And y'all got all these special ass names for your goddamn selves. Fuck all y'all. I can't stand motherfuckers who want their cake, want to eat it too, and then they want to shit in the hands of the people that made them the cake. Fuck all y'all. Eat a dick. And that's my Cutty Corner shout out. This is San Francisco we're talking about. San Francisco had a record drop in their housing rental rate prices. It dropped 11%. It's like a record, set of records. Never dropped that much in the span of like the 3 months that it has, right? Do you understand that 11% of hella much money is still not that much money, because they still making hella money because San Francisco is still like the most expensive place to live in the country? Like, oh, it used to be $3,300 for this 1 bedroom and 1 bathroom apartment, but now it's only $3,000 because we had to take away 11% of $3,300. Niggas, please, that's still $3,000 for a 1 bedroom house. Eat a dick. That is our show, my friends. Thank you guys for tuning in. We hope everyone is having a blessed week. Had a lovely second Juneteenth, and
everybody except for landlords. Right?
Man, God damn.
And the eclipse.
I'm glad I don't own no property.
Don't say the N word, please, Brandon. I'm trying to get off of this before Aaron's head explodes.
Hey, I keep mine short though, guys. I keep mine short.
Hey, well, thank you for listening to our show. Any final words you guys like to have to our fans out there?
Yeah, man. See y'all next week.
Yeah, see you niggas.
See you next week. I hope whoever invented fireworks. I hope whoever invented fireworks. I hope they chop off his legs, his fingers, and I'll dig up his grave and bury him next to Hitler and set both graves on fire.
Hey, yeah, just wear masks. Ain't no conspiracy out here.
I feel you. Well, hey, thank you for listening to our show. Y'all stay blessed and stay healthy out there, and keep on trucking as our Pedro. Give us a horn. Toot, toot, toot. Challenge to all our listeners out there: send a link out of your favorite episode or your favorite segment to 5 friends. That would help us grow, and we greatly appreciate it. If you can think of 5 people that you think might like our steez. But otherwise, have a blessed week, stay healthy, and we will leave you with this.
Big up the whole island, massive. It's your boy Chatana, coming straight from the Golden Globes, you want to say? Me feeling Father Tom Hanks presenting in a what soon forward come. Big up, tune in.
This is gonna be Jared's hardest work of editing ever. If he wants this shit to live, dog.
Anyways, that's crazy though. That sounds like a very interesting business format to take advantage of, and I give Recruiter being able to benefit and profit off that. Shout out sponsorship.
I think it's great that they want to have that conversation with people regularly, and just I mean, I'm not sure if the conversations are really effective, but at the same time, it's good that number one, there are white people willing to pay to like talk to a black person. That's kind of weird that they don't have somebody in their own circle to talk about this stuff with. Because I'm not always willing to have that conversation with groups of people at a time. Be like, all right, cool. Like, this is how you need to. This is how your worldview is skewed in a way that's not congruent with mine or whatever.
So are there women of color there, Brandon?
No, the two women that hosted are women of color.
Man, I wish my friends would pay me $5,000 to talk about them about right. Fuck. I would, you know what? I would buy white friends for even cheaper, dog. Like, you give me like $200, you could be my white homie.
Why don't you go to Kim Kardashian and ask her to help you get that started? Then they'll go,
she's literally getting paid to do exactly that right now.
She's getting to talk about race. That bitch ain't talking about no goddamn race, nigga. She the Mother Teresa, everything, nigga. Come on now.
Okay, I'm kind of joking. I'm not trying to. Shout out to Claudia Conway.
yeah. Recognize real game.
Yeah, I know who I ride for now. It's okay.
Kim Kardashian about to be mad. Adarius ain't protecting her the way he used to. She gonna show up talking about.
So what did I miss? What did I miss?
Jericho played the shit to death.
Either this is not going to come out or it's not going to come out until September because he's still editing.
He got a lot of cutting to do. Yeah.
One of the bits that they were doing for the. God damn it, Adarius, is that you, man? This nigga, you got to work on that. Adarius is like the bull in the china shop. But yeah, that song was on there. Who's got echo going on, man?
It's following me, man. I'm sorry. I'm gonna turn that right now.
Yeah, we gotta. It's killing the audio.
Sorry. Hold on, I'm killing the audio.
What did I miss? Yeah, nigga.